Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Looking at the NBA on Wednesday, got 12 games to choose from here. I'm going to be running through the bets that I already have down on the card. Also got some leans that I want to share with you as we still wait for all this injury news to come out here. It is late night on Tuesday. Want to show you how I did on Tuesday as well. A winning night, small win, but win. We'll always take it. So we'll go through all of that and the bets that we had on the card, give you a chance to get into the VIP as well, and then get into everything we've got here for Wednesday. So if that sounds good, give this video a like. Let's jump right into it. 5-5, but we played some plus money bangers there. So we got 0.2 units up on the night, 52.1 units now on the season, still climbing up, feeling very, very good about how we've done so far, and on the way to 100 units this season in the regular season. That's what we're after here. Loved all the wins. Kelly Oubre assists were easy. The rebounds took a while to get there. Still felt good about it. Got plus 115 for him to get 8, and he ended on 8, so we're good there. B-Pods was a great look on a lot of ways. Points, assists, if you wanted to make some parlays with him, he was a great look, especially once Steph was ruled out. Isaiah Collier, like I said on the live show today, I'm going to be probably having to name my the middle name at least of my firstborn Collier or Isaiah. I don't really care, but the man is just a cash cow. And like I said on the show earlier, he'll probably help pay for her graduation and college tuition when she gets there. So pretty happy with Collier, and we'll keep finding his assists for a play here. You got to watch the matchups and see who's playing and who's not. But so far, he's been good for about 30 minutes and is acting as their starting point guard. So we'll keep looking at his stuff every time that he's got props up. Max Christie did not bring it. I mean, none of the Lakers did. That was a smackdown. AD was the other Lakers bet we made. He got hurt in the first couple minutes of the game. Not much you could do about that. But Max Christie, look, he only ended up taking 6 shots. It was one of those situations where he missed the first 5, and then he just got gun shy. He made one of them, missed the rest, and that was pretty much it for him. But we're not just going to shy away from him. He played all the minutes we expected him to, but that game was pretty much a dud once AD left, and it became a blowout. So we'll move on from that one. Amin Thompson, the Magic ran out tonight. Should have at least started to realize that he had to come back down to earth. And once those props got up to 32.5 on the PRA, then we were a little bit out of earshot of the value play there and having an edge on that bet. So we'll revisit it moving forward. Amin's still going to be a bet for us for all of it. PRA, just got to make sure it's at a reasonable number. About 28.5 is probably where we'll keep playing that. Otherwise, it might have to leave it alone. But Drew Eubanks, I don't know what to do with the Jazz front court, man. They ended up playing Filipowski more than they played Drew Eubanks. Bryce Sensabaugh started, but then didn't get minutes. So the only guy I trust right now is Isaiah Collier, and they're playing Colin Sexton as well. But other than that, it's Isaiah Collier, and then maybe when John Collins is back, and everybody else can just F off because we don't really need to mess with that stuff. So, like I said, 52 units up on the season, still feeling really good about it. I'm going to jump into my plays right now, but I should let you know, a quick reminder, we've got the 5:30 p.m. Eastern live show. Every single weekday, we're coming in and we're finding the value that we can as those lineups and injury news start to come out right at that time. So that's why we start this thing at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, and then we start to make those bets based on the news that we can actually gather to depend on. So hope to see you guys there tomorrow, but let's go ahead and look at this card that I've got down for Wednesday. As we get into some looks here for Wednesday, do want to remind you we're using propsmadness.com. That's what I'll be showing you here on these episodes as well as the live show. If you do not yet have an account with them, definitely recommend at the very least trying it out with the 7-day trial that you get. You can also use promo code LYB and go ahead and get yourself 25% off the first month. Definitely jump in the comments with any questions that you guys have about this. Happy to answer it. All of the tools that you'll see me using are linked in the description of the video. Go ahead and give me some comments as well. Would love to know who you guys are betting on. Take a look at some of these best bets from the squad as well. But let's go ahead and get into the first looks that I've got. And I'm getting into this Nuggets and Knicks game. And there's a couple things I've already got down on the card, both from this game right here. So we're going to start with Karl Towns. I got to go back to the boards for him. These are at 12.5 plus money. This is a man averaging 13.8 rebounds on the season. If you look at him in the last game that they played, we'll put this head to head right here. 15 boards on 23 rebound chances in 34 minutes of action. And if I pull up FanDuel Fantasy Pros, because we like to see how team defenses do against specific positions. So I want to know how good are the Denver Nuggets at limiting rebounds to the opposing center, which will be Cat in this game. And if you look at the bottom teams, basically, the Denver Nuggets are giving up the 6th most rebounds per game to opposing centers, in part because they're not taking that many threes. So there's a lot more rebounds that are bouncing closer to where the center is standing rather than long rebounds bouncing off of the three-point line. But also Joker's just taking a lot of those shots down low and crashing the offensive boards a ton. So that's going to put Cat in position consistently to be near the basket for those short rebounds when they come off, in be in the right spot, essentially. So I love Cat on the boards for plus money, 12.5 for him to get 13, which, like I said, averaging more than that on the season. On the season as a whole, pretty nice hit rate on 12.5 as well. 10 of his last 18 he's gone over, but if we put this all the way up to, he's going to be well over a 50% hit rate on the season, closer to 60%. 25 of the 42 games he's played. So for us to get plus money, for him to do something that he's done 60% of the time in a matchup that shows centers are likely to get boards against a guy like Jokic, this is a really good look here. So I got to go back to it. You can see a lot of these centers love to look at the past centers. 4 of the last 6 have gone over. And really, I mean, if you want to consider Naz Reid the center, he obviously is more of the power forward. And if you look at Rudy Gobert, he got the rebounds. We can do this by position as well. And you can see Rudy got 14 against Jokic and squad in the last game where they blew him out. Nuggets riding a 2-game losing streak, so you know they're going to be going all out, but I love Cat boards in this one. Speaking of the Joker, though, we had to go over on his points here. It's 26.5 for him. And I mean, minus 125, I'll drink that juice all the time. You're going to probably see this only available at 27.5. I would still take this up to about minus 115 at 27.5 points for Jokic. He's averaging 30 on the season, and this Knicks team is not good limiting anything that he wants to do, right? You're going to see him play as the roll man in the pick and roll a bunch. And if I scroll down here on Props Madness, I can look at play type analysis and see that the Knicks are 5th worst limiting points to the pick and roll man. They're also terrible limiting points to the pick and roll ball handler. The Knicks are just not good at defending the pick and roll, to be honest. And a lot of times it's because they're putting whomever is Jalen Brunson's matchup against Cat's matchup, right? It's the point guard and whomever, like I said, the guy that Brunson is guarding going into the pick and roll with Cat's man. So that's going to be a lot of Jokic either picking or honestly having screens set for him on Cat, and then having guys like Russ Westbrook roll to the rim. So I love the points for Jokic. He's probably good for a triple-double. You're just not going to get any value on that at this point. But I think he's going to have a really big game. And make sure that when you see them start to lose games, right, 2 in a row that they've lost now by 8 to the Bulls and by 29 to the Timberwolves, you see Jokic start to pull out a lot more shooting and start to make sure that he keeps his team in games. Even if you look at him on the road this season, right at about 30 points per game when he's playing away from home. So really going to like him in this spot because I know that he's going to try to keep his team in it. The Knicks are smacking teams right now, just beat the Grizzlies by like 35 points. So we'll see if they can bring it to lay the wood on the Nuggets, but I think Jokic is going to do his best to score to keep his team in the game. Let's head over to the Raptors and Wizards game because we have to look at the fact that if we look at the injury report here for the Wizards, you see that Alex Sarr is questionable right now, listed as a game time decision. That's their starting center. So if he's not in, we're definitely going to be looking at some Joval points and rebounds. Jonas Valančiūnas, who we do not have his props up yet. They rarely give us backups props, right, until we get closer to game time. Plus, because we have Alex Sarr listed as questionable, we are going to get Jonas Valančiūnas props up a bit later, or Sarr's props up a bit later as well. But with Joval, what I put up here, I just went to statmuse.com and I typed in Joval with and without Alex Sarr this season. In the 4 games that he's played without Alex Sarr, including he started all 4, 26 minutes in those games as opposed to 19 on the season as a whole, 16.5 points per game and 14 boards, all in 26 minutes. So he's taking full advantage of his minutes because he's not getting many. But when Alex Sarr is not around, Joval goes off. Right. And so I do think they're going to need him out there anyway in this matchup with Jakob Poeltl, who's going to be too big for Alex Sarr anyway. So I do think this would be a game that we would see Joval at about 20-25 minutes. If we get a rebound prop, if there's no Alex Sarr and we get a rebound prop for him at around 9.5 or anything less than 10, we're hitting it. If we get a points prop around 14.5 or less, we're hitting it. So really liking Joval's opportunities in this game once we go see what happens to Alex Sarr's status and if we can get him over at those numbers that I mentioned. Moving on to Cavs Heat for a minute. And obviously we're all going to want to know about Kel'el Ware, and I do think he's going to be a good bet in this game. I want to see what market pressure does, and I still don't really trust Eric Spoelstra. So I'm moving past the Heat, and I'm going over to the Cavs squad because I thought it was interesting. I was initially looking at Jared Allen, and I wanted to go over on the rebounds for him at 10.5, mostly because you will see that on the season, the Miami Heat are not very good limiting rebounds to centers, right? They're 3rd worst limiting center rebounds. However, in the last 7 games, as Kel'el Ware has entered the starting lineup, and now they have 2 7-footers out there, they've gotten a lot better at rebounding. Plus, they'll have lineups with the two of them and Jokic, who's like 6'10", all playing together at the same time. And so they are a dominant force on defense and around the boards. And in the last 7 games, they've limited centers to the 5th fewest rebounds per game. On the season as a whole, they're already very good limiting their points. In the last 7 games, as far as the points for Miami goes, a little bit worse, actually. They've been giving up points to centers and not rebounds. Also, historically, for Jared Allen, doesn't have very good numbers against the Heat. If you look at this season, he ended up, if we put the PR out there, because I really think I'd like to fade the points and rebounds as a whole. Haven't done that yet, especially because you see this thing creeping up on the odds. It's minus 125 to go over. I do think you're going to be able to see this get up to maybe 24.5, and then you can take an under on a better number. So if you look at head-to-head, 13 points and rebounds combined in 29 minutes, which is about what he plays normally on the season. Lost by 9, but he only got 7 shots off, 10 rebound chances, didn't come close to the 23.5. And if you look at last season too, he had 1 big game against the Heat out of 4. That's because Donnie Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Max Strus were all missing in those games. If you look at the games where he didn't do well, he was even missing Donnie Mitchell and Evan Mobley in 1 or 2 of the other ones, still couldn't do it against this Heat squad. So this is not a very good matchup for him. I think we're going to see him sort of played off the floor a bit, or at the very least, he's going to have a tougher matchup than he did last game when Kel'el Ware was not around, right? So between Bam and Kel'el Ware out there, plus Jokic, this is going to be a really big Miami Heat team that I think is going to have a lot of success with those big lineups against a guy like Jared Allen. So I wouldn't be going over. I wouldn't be playing just what's been happening with the Heat and how they've been giving up rebounds on the season as a whole to the centers. I'd be looking at what they've done lately as they've changed their lineups and gotten bigger guys out onto the floor. That might be an under for Jared Allen. As we move to Bulls and Celtics, go ahead and give that video a like and subscribe to that page if you have not yet. Also recommend turning the notifications on. Don't miss any of the episodes we're dropping here. Let's look at the fact that Jason Tatum is questionable to play in this game. Now, I have no lean either way, whether he is or is not going to play yet. Need to see a little bit more of the news coming out of shoot-around tomorrow for the Celtics. But if you look at Jaylen Brown, obviously the points stand out without Tatum. I think the PRA is going to be a play. I love the boards for him in this situation against the Bulls, who are not a good rebounding team. They're not a good rebounding team against forwards and wings such as Jaylen Brown, and you're going to see him out there for as many minutes as he needs to play, close to 40, if this game stays at all close. And to be fair, like, the Celtics haven't been beating anybody by that much, and the Bulls have a couple of wins, I'm pretty sure, this season. They have at least 1 win against them this year. They lost 1, and okay, so they lost twice, but they still have a win against the Celtics. For the Bulls, that's very impressive, and I got to imagine that the Celtics are pissed about it. But either way, if there is no Jason Tatum in this one, like I said, this is going to be a smash spot for me. Is going to be all of it. I think we're going to be able to get this at about 35.5. So I'm going to be looking to this as soon as we get the Jason Tatum news. As long as this doesn't climb too high, there's some overs to be had whenever you're playing the Bulls, and that includes Peyton Pritchard, who probably won't start if we don't see Tatum, but he'll be coming off the bench and we'll be playing probably another 25 to 28 minutes without Tatum because they look for his offense in those situations. So those are the 2 guys we're going to be running right to hit the overs is Jaylen Brown PRA, Peyton Pritchard points, and probably the threes as well. Because if you do look at the Bulls here, they give up the 3rd most attempts from 3. So they are allowing a lot of shots in general and a lot of shots from 3 that are also going in. If we look at Pritchard without Tatum this season, just to prove the point as well, 2 games, this is the threes, 2 really good games, and then the bad game against the Magic that they lost by 4, only went 1 of 5 from deep in that one. But he should be able to get there in this one. I think he's good for 15 plus if Jason Tatum is a no-go. One more look for right now that I'm eyeing is Daniel Gafford on the points and the rebounds. It's now up at about 26.5. But I mean, anytime we're talking about a team going up against the Pellies at this point, it's basically a system play to just go ahead and take the overs for the opposing center. If you look at on the season as a whole for this team, they are giving up the 5th most points to the center position. I believe the most rebounds. Yeah, the most rebounds to the center position. You're looking at everybody being out once again for this Mavs crew. No Luka. Najee's a game time decision. Most importantly, no Derek Lively, no Maxi Kleber, and no Dwight Powell. This team doesn't even have a backup center anymore. This is it for center for this squad is going to be Daniel Daniel Gafford, and you're going to see a bunch of Olivier Maxence Prosper and PJ Washington as well, obviously. And I think PJ is probably good for his stuff, but he might be busy dealing with Zion in this game. So I don't know. I definitely don't like the rebounds quite as much for PJ. Let me see. Yeah, those are still at 8.5. That's a bit high for my liking. He is averaging 8.9 without Luka and Derek Lively, but this isn't as much of a bet on power forwards against the Pellies. It's a bet on centers against them. And that's why I do think Daniel Gafford, as long as you can still bank on 30 minutes for him. Let me pull him back up. Let's put him in here, and you can see in the minutes he's played without, and let's go to points and rebounds. The minutes he's played without Luka and Derek Lively are pretty high. 24, 30 minutes. And then, when it's blowouts, he plays less than 30. But for the most part, when this is a close game, he's anywhere from 28 to 32 minutes. On the season as a whole, when Daniel Gafford has played, let's say 30 to 34 minutes, like he's capable of playing again, because once again, they have no centers. Now we're looking at about 33.6 PR over in 4 of the 5 games, or 3 of the 5 games rather, that we've seen. So maybe we can get this down to 25.5. I'm not sure if this will stick at 26.5. It's a very high number for him. So there might be people interested in hitting the under on it, in which case I think once we get this to 25.5, it is still a pretty good over in a fantastic matchup for Gafford. All right, that's all we have for right now, as it's still late on Tuesday. Like I said, got to get that news from Shoot Around and the injury reports and the starting lineups. Always helpful. And we'll be getting a lot of that stuff at 5:30 p.m. Eastern on the live show tomorrow. So bring your bets, jump in the comments, and we'll go over what you guys want to look at. I'll show you exactly how I'm finding the value that I am on all these plays. So best of luck until then. And when I see you next, happy betting.